This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. Hey guys, Big Paul here today, and I have a fun one for you. After I posted my video on Monday about pre-contest cycles, I had several people reach out to me with actual contest cycles from pros. So I have one on hand that's from a top competitor who works with a top coach, and I confirmed through some sources that this is a legit cycle, that this actually was used by this competitor, and I'm going to go through it, break down each phase of it with you. I'm going to show you how close I was. I actually sort of underestimated some of the stuff, but this is what a pro type contest prep cycle looks like. Now, I'm not saying this is what everybody does, but this is what this one competitor used with his coach. And keep in mind, I'm sure the coach sometimes adjusts what they do based on the specific competitor and how that competitor responds. So I'm sure the protocols vary from competitor to competitor, but this is what was used with this one. And we are going to take a look at it in just 1 second. All right, as I mentioned in my previous pro bodybuilder pre-contest cycle, most pros start their pre-contest out somewhere around 16 weeks out. And usually it's just a continuation of the off-season protocol. The only thing that changes at the 16-week out mark is some reduction in food and addition of cardio. So other than that, not a lot changes, but in my experience, somewhere around the 10 to 12 week mark, that's when things in the protocol start to change. And with this competitor's protocol, you can see at the 12-week mark that he and his coach changed their approach to their PEDs. I am not sure what the off-season protocol was, but I was told that this is when they shifted. That's how this coach works. So, and that's pretty similar. I mean, when I work with people, I also shift them somewhere around the 10 to 12 week mark to a different protocol. But this is what this one competitor was using. So for AASs at 12 to 8 weeks, so this was from 12 to 8 weeks out, so it's a four week period. This competitor was running Sustanon 2 days on, 1 day off at 250 milligrams. So we're talking around a gram a week, pretty typical. Trenbolone was added in at that point at 200 milligrams every other day. That's pretty typical. That's what I mentioned before. I've seen doses anywhere between 300 to 700 milligrams per week of Trenbolone. Equipoise was run at 200 milligrams every other day. Not a surprise there. I mentioned in my other video that how Equipoise is often run in pre-contest cycles. Equipoise has a reputation for keeping guys looking full. This is one that I thought was different. At least most of the cycles that I've seen in the past, people aren't running orals this far out. But this coach was using 75 milligrams of Anadrol pre-workout and 60 milligrams of Anavar a day. From what I recall, this coach had the Anavar broken up in 20 milligram doses every 8 hours, so 3 times per day, which sort of makes sense when you look at the half-life of Anavar, so you have a sustained dose of Anavar throughout the day. AIs at this point were run 1 milligrams of Arimidex every day, which is kind of high for that early in the prep. I don't usually see guys running AIs that high. 1.25 milligrams of Letrozole each day, which the letrozole by itself usually, in my experience, will bring your estrogen almost down to 0. I don't know why they were running both. It's not like there's a ton of compounds in here that are going to convert to estrogen. I mean, you do have the test, but the Equipoise Anadrol and Anavar, the DHT derivative, should help bring down the estrogen, at least in my experience. That's what I see. So this is sort of nutty with the AIs. The coach may have had a reason for doing it. Maybe somebody's a high estrogen converter, but I have never seen people stack two AIs together. That seems unnecessary to me. I've never seen anyone do that before. But this coach has a reputation for bringing people in dry and ripped. From weeks 8 to 4 weeks out, the test was changed to test enanthate. That is something I've seen a lot of old school coaches do, is switch the test esters as you get further into the prep. I really think that's unnecessary. Test is test. Maybe there could be a compelling reason to switch to prop in the second half of the contest prep, so you have a faster acting ester you can get out of your system quickly at the end if you want to dry out. I can get behind that, but I don't understand the shift from sustanon to test enanthate. That seems a little weird to me, but the coach may have had the reasons for doing so. Primo was added in at 100 milligrams per day. Remember I said that Primo or Masteron or a combination of both can be run. Trenbolone was run at 150 milligrams every other day, so the Trenbolone dose was actually lowered. Masteron was run at 100 milligrams every day. I mentioned that in my previous one. Winstrol, 25 milligrams 3 times per day, so 75 milligrams a day. Proviron, 25 milligrams 3 times per day. It looks like the Anadrol was dropped at this point, so we are just on Winstrol at this point for oral anabolic, so 75 milligrams per day. We're lowering our load of orals at this point. AIs, it looks like the AIs were upped. The letrozole was upped to 2.5 milligrams every other day. Weeks 4 to the show. This is when we make the shift to test prop, which I get because a lot of guys will drop tests at the end to help dry out. I have a problem with staying full, so I find for me that running tests all the way up to the show keeps me nice and full. When I've dropped it before, I get flat, but every competitor is different. Masteron is still run at 100 milligrams per day and dropped 4 days out from the show. I'm assuming they're running a faster acting Masteron because it is dosed at 100 milligrams per day. Tren Ace is 150 milligrams every day, so we're running a gram of Tren per week. That's a lot of fucking Tren. I would imagine you can't sleep using that much. You probably feel pretty shitty. So this is dropped at 1 week out. I see a lot of coaches that drop injectables 1 week out. That's pretty normal, pretty standard here. Winstrol is increased as you're going into the show. That's also pretty typical. So first week, I think this would be 4 weeks out, we're talking about 125 milligrams a day. Second week, 150. Third week to the show, 200 milligrams a day. So a gram and a half of Winstrol a week. 50 milligrams of Anavar a day. So we in Proviron is at 100 milligrams per day 1 week. Week 1 is so 4 weeks out, 125 milligrams a day. 3 weeks out, 150 milligrams a day. 2 weeks out, and 20 milligrams per day 1 week out. So it's dropped, or 200 milligrams. Sorry, that was a typo. 200 milligrams a day going into the show. A lot of Proviron. And then halo testing is added at 40 milligrams per day as well. You can see here that the shift was made to mostly orals, the test prop. We are down to 300 milligrams of test in the last 4 weeks, 700 milligrams of Masteron per week, and a gram of Tren. Anti-estrogens are 1 milligram of Arimidex each day and 2.5 milligrams of letrozole every other day. Diuretics, Diazide is used the day before the show. They're actually conservative on the diuretics, so usually something like a half or a quarter of a Diazide the night before show. I would imagine with all these compounds, you're going to be pretty dry. You probably don't even need a diuretic. Fat burners are also pretty conservative. I didn't see any clenbuterol in this protocol. I would assume that there was some, but they did not talk about it. I didn't see any T3 either. I know a lot of guys don't use T3 because T3 seems to burn up muscle equally as much as it does body fat. So, but this is a pretty simple fat burner protocol: 200 milligrams of caffeine with 10 milligrams of yohimbine and 75 micrograms, that should be micrograms, not milligrams, of T4. GH is run at 3 to 4 units of pharma-grade GH pre-workout. Low dose of GH. These guys that think that people are running 10, 20 units of GH on contest prep, people just can't afford that. And GH really on contest prep is just a really expensive fat burner. You're not reaping the entire benefits of the GH running the high doses anyway. So 3 to 4 units is probably all you need on the GH. But you can see this cycle is very, very heavy on the orals, and there's a shift to heavier oral use as they get closer to the show. I can't imagine what somebody's liver enzymes are going to look like on this protocol. You must feel like shit going into a show like this, I would assume. This is crazy amounts of orals, and then you have a gram of tren on top of it. But I've seen crazier. This is an example of what a pro-level contest prep cycle looks like. So those of you guys that were calling me crazy when I posted the one-up my example the other day, I seemed like I was being a bit conservative compared to this. But this is the stuff that you've seen. Now, I've seen guys, like I've said before, I've seen guys that barely use anything. You got a guy like John Jewett who just runs almost nothing and gets himself peeled and ready for shows. And I'm sure there are guys that run more, but this is an example of someone who works with top level Olympia competitors, and this is a high level competitor and what their contest prep cycle looks like. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section below. I thought I'd share this with you so you can see that I'm absolutely not insane about what I'm talking about with this stuff. Here in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about safer use models, getting the most out of the least. I'm hoping to share some of this with you so you can see the insanity that goes on in the pro ranks and what some of these guys are doing. For me, who am I to judge? To each his own, whatever makes you happy. I am all for body sovereignty and having the ability to do whatever with your body that you want, but I feel like this is probably overkill. Maybe it's what it takes to compete at that level. I don't compete at that level, so I don't know specifically, but this is an example of, a real example of a protocol that somebody actually ran that's a high-level competitor. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.